Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. It was not, I repeat, it was not wonderful to be along for the Sixers ride last night because that was terrible. It was nice to listen to A.J. Brown go on a podcast with Gilly, I believe it was, and open up about his relationship with Jalen Hurts. And as I'm sitting there listening to it, I am very appreciative of the fact that I don't care. There were points throughout Eagles history where I'd really care, and I don't need to name names. You know who I'm talking about. Where I'd really care about what a wide receiver thinks about his quarterback or what their relationship is. Seeing Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown on the sidelines of the Super Bowl congratulate each other and show the mutual respect, which is, I don't, if two guys like each other, fine. If they don't like each other, I don't care. As long as they respect each other and they work towards the same goal, and everything they do that might be construed as negative is in an effort to get to the ultimate positive, which is winning a Super Bowl, I don't care if they like each other. I don't care if they're still best buds. I'll also say this. I think a little bit confirmed what Brandon Graham was saying during the season when he was out and he was on WIP from Chickies and Pete's. He's like, oh, yeah, they're not as close as they used to be. Something happened, but, okay. Now, again, I don't care. As long as they continue to work to give us parades, I'm fine. I'm fine and dandy. But A.J. Brown was very much opening up yesterday, or at least when the podcast dropped, when it came to his relationship with Jalen Hurts, and I'm fine with it. It makes me wish we had a little bit of that in, Eagles past. But two-time Super Bowl champions now in my lifetime, I can't be too upset about that. We'll get into A.J. Brown's comments. We'll also get into the Phillies. They got rained out yesterday. They were supposed to face Paul Skeens. How great that would have been just to at least see it. And unfortunately, it didn't go down. But the lineup still came out. We'll go over that interesting Phillies lineup from yesterday. I mentioned the 76ers. I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like if a team suffers one of the most horrific. Now, when I say horrific, they were down 50 at one point in the game. All right. They were down 50. And they looked every bit of a team that would be down 50 points in a game. If you sat down and watched that game, God bless you. If you were channel surfing last night, oh, the Sixers are, let me see what they're doing. Oh my God. And then you checked out. All right. If that's what happened, then, good for you that your mental health is probably in a much better state than mine today. I made the point last night on the postcast that during the 2.5 to 3 hours, 3 hours actually probably is closer for that. Yeah, a little 2.5, I guess. There's a lot of fouls, a lot of breaks in the action. But I guess in the 3 hours that I dedicated to the Sixers last night, there was a brief period where my son Leo, who's 3, just took a huge deuce. You know what I'm saying? And changing that was better than watching the Sixers. I also stubbed my toe, which was not fun. That was still better than watching the Sixers. And I don't know, and all that, there was probably a number of other things that were still better than that. Maybe the beverage I was enjoying, just a little lemon in my water. You know what I mean? That's all. Not an alcoholic beverage. No, I'm not talking about that. Although I could have used one. That was better. That was a lot better than watching the Sixers last night. It's pretty terrible too. The only thing that I caught myself actually feeling bad for, I felt bad for the fans because you deserve better than that. A home game where you get blown out by, I think it was 32 points was the final point differential, and you were losing by 50. You're watching air balls hit your own players in the head. Who was it? Was it White last night? Airballed on the up. He threw the ball. Oh, he shot the ball over the rim. It wasn't like he was short. He was too strong. He shot over the rim, and it hit Adembona in the head, knocking him to the ground. And this was in the fourth quarter, and it was after, twice in the first half, the Sixers blew a 2-on-1 breakaway, and the Sixers blew a 3-on-1 breakaway with a play by Ricky Council IV that it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. He does a great job on the defensive end. Ricky Council, just tell you about this for a second, does a great job on the defensive end, getting a steal at the foul line on the defensive end of the floor. Runs the length of the court. He's got Kelly Oubre on the block. He's got Gershon Yabusele trailing him. And Ricky Council IV, a player, by the way, who I like, I support, I enjoy usually when he's in the game. But he goes to the rim and leaps in the air, only to come right down with the ball still in his hands. And he came down before he could give the ball to Kelly Oubre. So they called for a travel. They sent it the other way. I put this on my timeline on X, on Twitter, right? I put it on my timeline. So if you want to see it, my favorite part of it is not the play. It's right after the play when the camera crew and the production crew does a great job. They stay on Ricky Council, and Ricky Council kind of has that really confused look on his face, like he can't even believe what he just did. And then it cuts to Nick Nurse, who's sitting there on the bench going, hey, this is what you can almost hear it. Like somebody has just done something so ridiculous that like, you don't even have any words for it. You just, you're so over the top angry about what's going on. This is the second. This is 3 minutes into the second, 2.5 minutes into the second quarter. The 50-point differential hasn't even happened yet, although you did just allow 40 points in the first quarter after allowing 39 to the Nets. If you're an NBA team and you're struggling with confidence, play the 76ers. Oh, you'll build that confidence. By the way, the Bulls are in full sell mode. They literally sold at the deadline, quite a bunch, as a matter of fact. No Nick Vucevic last night, former Sixer, Nick Vucevic. No, him. Michael Jordan hasn't played for the Bulls for a long time, so he wasn't there. 50 points you were down. You deserve so much better than this. I do have Nick Nurse for you after the game. He tries to make sense of it, and yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible. Well, all right, I'll get into it. The vibes were bad. That's what I'll say. That's not me saying. That's a quote from the coach. The vibes were bad. Really? You think? And how about the cojones on the 76ers for them to even entertain the idea that Joel Embiid could play again this year? What are we doing? I never thought in my life I ever would feel. I never felt like I would invoke the name Taiwan Walker when it came to Joel Embiid. Like I never thought those two things would cross over. But as I'm watching everything unfold with Joel Embiid, I'm thinking around like, what's the sense? What's the sense of owing a guy a lot of money? You seem to be not committed to moving on from him. And you seem to be more committed of draining every last drop of whatever he's got left. And I'm like, when's the last time I felt like that? And I'm like, so I was like, it's Taiwan Walker from last baseball season. And I'm like, this is a season of basketball for the 76ers where I am looking at Joel Embiid, an MVP, fairly recently in the NBA. And I am thinking about Taiwan Walker. Like, why are the Sixers treating Joel Embiid as if he's Taiwan Walker? He's a little bit better than that when he's on top of his game, wouldn't you say? He's a lot better than that. What somebody I need to make this make sense for me. Shut him down. Move on. I was listening to Brian Windhorst talk about this the other day, a couple days ago, where he's like, yeah, the Sixers have 4 years left of paying this guy. All the more reason to shut him down now and stop. Like, what do you really got to prove to the NBA that Joel Embiid's hurt? Is that really so outlandish? Is that such a crazy? Hey, Joel Embiid's hurt. What? Joel Embiid? What do you mean he's hurt? He can't be hurt. Oh no, he's hurt. Like, no, they have to exhaust every resource so that Adam Silver doesn't get angry about get with a team that he often gets angry with, apparently. I think it's safe to shut him down and have nobody question as to whether or not he's actually hurt. It ain't just load management anymore. It's talking about needing surgery. Joel Embiid has already acknowledged he's going to need another surgery. Let's get that going as fast as humanly possible. And then here's the other positive to it. No Olympics this summer. No Olympics this summer. Maybe in I don't know, another year, Joel Embiid will have a dream of being a ice lugist. That's what it is. Maybe he'll want to be on the first Cambodian bobsled team. Maybe that'll be a dream of his. I don't know. Maybe you can never know with Joel Embiid. Maybe he'll say he'll do that just to troll us. Go back to old Joel Embiid. Anyway, that's enough on that. We'll let you hear from Nick Nurse a little bit later. And, of course, the big story of yesterday, banning the tush push. Here's something I didn't know about the tush push. I saw that the Buffalo Bills, and it makes sense with an athletic quarterback like Josh Allen, that they would use it the second most to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you guys already know where I'm at on the tush push as far as banning it. Are you kidding me? Like, I was trying to think about what are things that are just so dominant in sports. And I remember going back, I think it was 1967. I remember learning about this. You know, Bob Gibson had like a 1.12 ERA for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they lowered the mound. They're like, that's enough. All right, you're too dominant. We're lowering the mound. And then I thought about like George Mikan, a center in the NBA. They expanded the lane for him, and then later they expanded the lane for Wilt Chamberlain and all that. And I'm like, okay, that's changing the field. It's not getting rid of a play. And I'm like, well, what would you get rid of? The most dominant things in sports. Like, would you go back to the 60s and say, okay, Sandy Koufax can't throw a curveball anymore? No more curveballs in Major League Baseball. It's too hard. Would you go back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and say, no more skyhooks, Kareem? You can't, no more skyhooks. By the way, in looking at this, I went back and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the greatest basketball players ever and never gets talked about in that light because he's a center. And I'm talking about like top 5 players ever, maybe the best player ever. And he had a field goal percentage of like 55% for his career. So would you no more sky hooks? Can't do the sky hook. You're that good at it. No more sky hooks. Like, what would you limit in sports? Like, what excuse me, eliminate because one player or one team is just too dominant. What would you limit? What would you take away? So this is what I found interesting. Tush push. Since 2022. The Eagles and the Bills have used a tush push play 163 times. The rest of the NFL has used a tush push play, or at least attempted it, 153 times. So the Bills and Eagles combined have used it 10 times more than the rest of the league combined. Interesting. Now, when it comes to touchdowns or first down percentage, the Eagles and the Bills 87% of the time have success. 87. The rest of the league, I thought this was higher. It was only 71%. So the Eagles and Bills, 87%. Rest of the league, 71% success rate when using the tush push. I find this interesting for two things. One, I'd never seen the Bills highlighted like that. And two, this is on the heels of me reading Sean McDermott wants to ban the tush push as well when his own team uses it. Now, the Bills are not the team that were the mystery team that proposed we should ban the tush push. You know who it was? It was the Green Bay Packers. Those Wisconsin sons of... So, next month you have the NFL meeting. Everyone gets together. NFL owners meetings. Everyone gets together. Excuse me. We see Andy Reid in a Hawaiian shirt. That's pretty fun. And they're talking about banning the tush push. I really don't get this. You know it's happening, and you still can't stop it. The Eagles have the perfect storm. Just as I've talked about a billion times over the last 6-7 months, Saquon Barkley behind this offensive line is just incredible. Well, Jalen Hurts and all 600 pounds he can squat behind this offensive line, with somebody give him a little nudge in the back there. Yeah, that sounds pretty unstoppable. So how about instead of the Packers complaining about it, because I'm sure the Packers were loving last offseason when people were talking about, I would take Jordan Love over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts stinks. Jordan Love's the great. Jordan Love's on the rise. Jalen Hurts on the downslide. Really? Okay. What happened when those two saw each other? Oh, no way. Both times Jalen Hurts won? That's amazing. That's fun. It's crazy how that happened. I believe the Packers are just, it's all about sour grapes for them, man. The Eagles have a play that is damn near unstoppable. I don't know how or why you would ban it. And the other thing is, you think about the genius of the play. And I've referenced Mike McDaniels a number of times because after the Eagles beat they destroyed the Miami Dolphins in Philly 2 seasons ago. Mike McDaniels came out after the game and just said, I think it needs to be applauded the amount of detail and the time that they spend running that play. Jason Kelsey has talked at length about how in his time with the Eagles, they practiced that play time and time again and paid attention to every little detail. And we've had Hollis Thomas on the show, and he's talked about what needs to be done to stop that play. What I would do, if I was playing, this is what I would do. And his theory was, instead of going up, go under. And the minute you know that ball is going to get snapped, the second you know it's going to get snapped, you go down and he literally said, you grab the ankles of the quarterback and prevent him from getting airborne. Prevent him from going anywhere. I don't think it stops it, but Hollis thinks he can. Hollis would probably be able to stop. I wouldn't be able to stop. Hollis would probably be able to stop it. To me, it's just unstoppable when you have a quarterback that strong behind an offensive line that good and help from behind, literally. I personally don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think they're going to ban it. A team like the Bills uses it too, and they have success with it. I don't think that they're going to move on from it. But I do enjoy everybody else bitching and complaining about something that the Eagles do so well. And I especially enjoy people bitching and complaining about it when it's the Super Bowl champion Eagles that do it so well. This is very rare. This is very rare for us. We're not only do we get to enjoy the Eagles as Super Bowl champions, we get to enjoy something that they do more dominant than anybody else in the NFL, and people want to try to take it away from you. I'm a little disappointed it wasn't the Cowboys. That was in an off season where the Cowboys have just looked like smacked asses. In an off season where the Cowboys admitted that they could learn from the Eagles, that's fun. In an off season where recently, who was it? Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones acknowledged that the Cowboys are probably going to take a quarterback in this draft. Just don't know where it'll be. That's fun, too. That'll be, ooh, man, pour that in the Cowboy crap pot and stir it up. It's just beautiful. Just so much fun. I thought it would be the Cowboys, the ones that would complain. No. It was another NFC team. It was none other than the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to bask in that for a while. All right. Yeah. Good times. Where did that note go? I had a note. Oh, I mentioned the Phillies lineup. Well, we'll get to that. All right. Let's start it off with A.J. Brown. Start it off. That's 20 minutes right there. A.J. Brown goes on the Gilly podcast, and he talks about his relationship with Jalen Hurts. Let me read it. Throughout the year, there was one point that I was frustrated. There was only one point this season. Now, I didn't like the book on the sideline. I know it became this rallying cry thing. Fine. But I didn't like the book on the sideline. I still don't like the book. I don't like anything other than football on the sideline when you're playing in a football game. That's just me. Do I hate A.J. Brown for it? Do I think he's a drama queen? Do I think he's a diva for it? Absolutely not. I am one of the few people that has never called A.J. Brown a diva. So this season, there was one thing that frustrated me with A.J. Brown, and that was passing. After the Eagles after the Eagles played a terrible game, passing game that is, against the Panthers, A.J. Brown came out afterwards and said, passing. We need to work on passing. He said after, that had nothing to do with that wasn't just Jalen Hurts. That's a passing game in general. That has to do with calling plays. That has to do with the receivers. That has to do with the quarterback. Everything. Offensive line. Everything in the passing game needs work. Well, look who your new offensive coordinator is, Kevin Patullo, passing game coordinator. All right, well, they got it right. All right, so they corrected the mistakes. Good for them. You're able to get, a smiling Jalen Hurts, once you finally got all the passing stuff figured out. That's good, right? That's great, as a matter of fact. That was the only time I looked at the season where I went at A.J. Brown like, dude, take your own advice. The advice from a couple of years from the previous season where you simply said, hey, you know what? I am not going to say anything if I have nothing nice to say. I wished in that moment he took his own advice. He didn't. He decided to say the passing game, or just passing needs help, which everyone took as a shot at Jalen Hurts. So he goes on the podcast recently, and he says that him and Jalen have essentially a good working relationship. He says that, yeah, they butt heads, but they're two alpha males that both want to win. If they're alpha and understanding, then that's a recipe for championships. If they're alpha and trying to outdo the other, that's a recipe for disaster. For those old enough to experience the T.O. versus Donovan era of the Philadelphia Eagles, yeah, that's what happens. It blows up. And you never enjoy the success that you thought you were going to. Listening to A.J. Brown, it's airing grievances is no way I would describe this. You might hear somebody put it like that. I wouldn't put it like that at all. I would say opening up and being honest about the relationship. And again, all I needed to see was those two on the sidelines congratulating each other for their hard work while they were in the midst of winning the Super Bowl. That's it. And it makes me like, respect, and appreciate A.J. Brown even more because he doesn't go into detail about anything that Jalen Hurts did that was not sitting well with him. He doesn't go into any of that. I mean, he's talked about throughout the year. Devontae Smith talked about throughout the year. But for whatever reason, Devontae Smith, I don't know why. He skates free. Never labeled a diva. He's a wide receiver. Never drama. And what was crazy, if you remember the 13-minute media session that A.J. Brown did in his locker when he broke his silence with the media 2 seasons ago, the only person he threw under the bus, he had support for Jalen Hurts. He had support for Nick Sirianni. He had support for Brian Johnson. The only person he threw under the bus in that conversation, in that media session, was Devontae Smith. He was like, Smitty yells more about targets than I do. And nobody ever talks about that. And I was like, I'm sorry, what was that? I was like, am I the only one that heard that? That's all. That's hilarious. And still Devontae Smith. But Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, both last year referenced many times how they had to have tough conversations to get things right. What A.J. Brown said in this interview was very much along those lines. It was nothing throughout the year that was ever negative. It was real. It was addressing issues. I mean, how many times in the past have we called for a team to address their issues? Like, is this stuff being said in the locker room? Are they saying this stuff at meetings? I have no doubt that if we're saying it, if you're saying it, they're saying it. Because this team is real. And just like I applauded this Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles team all year, just like I applauded them for being the biggest fans of the Philadelphia Eagles were the Philadelphia Eagles, pulling for one another like they were this entire season. Even a backup quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is talking about how it's like a college team. They're so close. That's awesome. But in that, not only does it go to, all things are great, we're having this great season, everyone's together because we're so great. It also goes down to not just being fanboys of each other, but also being real, just like the fan base is with the Philadelphia Eagles, where they're always real. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about the fan base of Philadelphia. It's, yes, you can believe that your team is great, but you can also believe that your team ain't perfect. And that's exactly how the Philadelphia Eagles, referencing A.J. Brown, felt about themselves. We need to have those tough conversations. I'm going to bump heads with my quarterback. All right, does it end with you guys in the playoffs every year? Does it end with you guys winning the division? Does it end with you guys being so close to getting a number 1 seed? Does it end with hoisting the Lombardi Trophy? Does it end with you guys on the Art Museum steps on parade day? Well, then, yeah, whatever you're doing seems like it's working pretty well. To me, that's not drama. When problems take on a life and their own personality, that to me is drama. Addressing an issue is it's the opposite of drama. Because drama, I think, can involve gossip. He said, coach said, player said, GM said, owner said, fan said. No, it's not about that. He said, get in the room, this position group with that position group, get on the same page. That's not drama. That's addressing the issue. And and look, I don't know what happened, if it was just frustrations on the field bleeding into a personal life. I don't know. But for something to happen between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and I'm not saying one specific thing, I'm just saying it could be a group of things, but for something to happen between those two players that were so close and all of a sudden not be, but still figure it out on the field, those are two guys I want on my team forever. If they could sign lifetime contracts and be on this team, that type of mindset, where as alpha as they could be, they could still put that on the back burner for the greater good of the team. That's a smart alpha right there. That's a smart alpha. We've seen alphas not do well here in Philadelphia, Carson Wentz. We've seen it happen. For these guys to figure it out, I think it's great. And listening to A.J. Brown on with Gilly, who I admit I had no idea who the hell Gilly was for the longest time. I had to be clued in on that. But he's to work for the Eagles. He's in the parade and all that. For him to go on the podcast and talk about it, I just made me love this team even more. It made me love this team even more. As far as tush push goes, as I mentioned, I don't think it's going to get banned. I think the Green Bay Packers, and I saw it was Diana Rossini that put it out there, saying that the Green Bay Packers were the mystery team that complained about the tush push. I'll get you their full-blown explanation for it coming up in a second, because I know the Packers have had issues with it in the past. So we'll get to that. I mentioned your Philadelphia 76ers last night. They were down by as much as 50 points to the Chicago Bulls. Now, in case you missed it, the Chicago Bulls suck. And in case you missed it, the Brooklyn Nets also suck. Here's how bad the Brooklyn Nets are. And this is a team that the Sixers lost to 2 games ago. And this is a team that the Sixers allowed 39 points to, or 40 points, I can't remember, in the first quarter of the game. The Brooklyn Nets just lost to the worst team in basketball, the Washington Wizards. That's who the Brooklyn Nets just lost to last night. The Chicago Bulls, who the Sixers got annihilated by, with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey in the lineup, but no Joel Embiid. Shocker. They just lost 142 to 110 to the Bulls last night. The Bulls sold off, let's see, DeMar DeRozan hasn't been there. Nick Vucevic, as I said, did not play last night. Adam Levine got sent away as well. So that's who the Sixers went up against last night. And Josh Giddey looked like, he had a double-double in the second quarter. Oh, God, it was terrible. It was terrible. So after the game, Nick Nurse was asked about the vibes of his team. And, exactly what happened, Nick Nurse? I don't think the audio is working on that. I apologize. Basically, Nick Nurse said after the game, we just had some bad vibes. We just had some bad vibes. That was the problem. We had bad vibes. You had bad vibes at home against a team that sold heavily at the deadline. And you're a team. Now, look, after the Celtics, after the Nets, I have buried the idea of and after Joel Embiid's the most recent revelation of injury here, I have buried any thoughts of any form of postseason play-in tournament, playoffs in general, like dead and buried. And I think I'm the last person on that boat. And I think I'm the last person on the boat of Tankadelphia. I think I'm the last person here, because my argument this entire time has been, I've already gone through the process. No more losing on purpose. No more losing on purpose. And then the Sixers decided to get spanked by the Celtics in a game that looked like they didn't even belong, then get beat the crap out of them by the Nets to actually show a little bit of life there in the fourth quarter, and then come right around here against the Bulls and get destroyed. In light of that, in light of shutting down Joel Embiid, in light of Paul George just looking like he's 97 years old, shut it down. I'm all about tanking. I'm not all about another process. Let me be clear. I'm all about tanking. And watching last night's game, it seems like the Sixers are on board with tanking as well. Now, the one guy that I'm concerned about in all of this is Tyrese Maxey. Because, and I did this little exercise last night on the postcast where I said, well, just imagine, let's live in this world for a second. Would it have been at all different if Tyrese Maxey was 31 years old? Like it would have been different if that night, number 3 overall, Joel Embiid was still in, I guess he'd still be in Cameroon. If Tyrese Maxey was the guy that was going to be available at number 3 that night, and you took Tyrese Maxey before you took Joel Embiid, before you took Ben Simmons, before you took Markelle Fultz, like before all that, would this have been different? And my thought was absolutely. Because unlike Tyrese Maxey will play through an injury. Tyrese Maxey doesn't get injured all that often. Like, would it have been different to set a different tone with a guy like Tyrese Maxey as opposed to Joel Embiid? To have that kind of hunger. Would Ben Simmons even happen here in Philadelphia? Would you even had the picks to get him? And look, Joel Embiid impressed the hell out of me last year when he played through his knee injury. And then all of a sudden, he's playing in the Olympics. For me, if you're the Sixers, it's over. They're not going to trade him. You can't trade him. Couldn't even trade him going into this year. Now you're going to trade him after an injury? I see people, I'll tweet about the game or whatever, and people be like, oh, just get rid of him. And I'm like, okay, how? Do you just cut him? Just release him into the wild? It's a lot of money. No, the Sixers are going to try to, as I said, squeeze every drop, every morsel out of whatever he's got. They're going to try to do everything. They're going to exhaust every option, every resource to see if they can get him back on the court at an MVP caliber level. I have my doubts. Which is why Tyrese Maxey is so important to all this. Jared McCain is going to be so important to this. And the Sixers, unfortunately, going full tank mode this year is going to be important to it if they can get their top 6 pick. Because the way it works now, breaking it down percentage-wise, if the Sixers finish with the 7th worst record in the NBA, they have a 32% chance of keeping their pick as its top 6 protected. So it wouldn't go to Oklahoma City. If they have the 6th worst record, that jumps up from 32% to a 46% chance of keeping their pick. If they are the 5th worst team in the NBA, then they have a 64% chance of keeping their top 6 pick, in this case, top 5. And as of right now, looking at the standings, the Philadelphia 76ers are, wait for it, Wizards, Jazz, Pelicans, Hornets, Raptors, Sixers. The Sixers right now are in the top 6. When I say top 6, I mean bottom 6. They're 6th worst team in the NBA. 1 game better. Well, I'm sorry. Excuse me. 1 game worse than the Brooklyn Nets, who again just lost to the worst team in the NBA, the Washington Wizards, who have 10 losses on the season. I did listen. I'm such a glutton for punishment. I did listen to Paul George after the game. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how to solve it. He just knows guys need to evaluate themselves. I listened to Tyrese Maxey, and Tyrese Maxey on point last night when he's asked about losing, and he's asked about maybe the Sixers kind of packing it in for the remainder 25 games. I'd be shocked if the Sixers won 5 games between now and the end of the year. Shocked. And you got the Knicks coming up tomorrow night. That'll be fun. That'll be a nationally televised game. Please allow 40 points in the first quarter in that game. That'll be fun. Actually, when you compare it to the Bulls, you compare it to the Nets, then the Knicks should score 60 points in the first quarter. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, they get the Tyrese Maxey after the game, and they're asking him about losing. And he's like, yeah, you could, as a franchise, you might want to lose. You might want better picks. But if I'm lacing up my sneakers, I'm not going out there to lose. Like point blank, that's what he said. I can't lace them up to go out and lose. And the thought about what if he was the guy that led the process and not Joel Embiid, how different would this have been? Timing's everything, but it is fun every once in a while. Just think of a time machine. Just go back. If you could go back to the beginning of it, what would Tyrese Maxey's influence on this team be far different than Joel Embiid's? You'd still have the picks. And I'm including Tyrese Maxey missing the first 2 years of his career. Although I'd triple dog dare you to try to make him miss a second year. Sixers fans, Philadelphia fans in general, you deserve so much better than this. A 50-point deficit at home. I usually don't. I've said this for years and years. The Eagles chant in Philadelphia, not at Eagles games, usually annoys me. Just as a performer, like, screw you, we don't care about you anyway. You got the Eagles. Like, I hate that. But in a night like last night, go for it. And I could hear Eagles chants in the crowd. Keith Pompey was keeping track of how many times Sixers fans booed the Sixers. Keith Pompey, Inquirer, and Locked On Sports Philadelphia. I think he said at one point the Sixers fans had booed in the fourth quarter more times than the Sixers had made field goals. I think that was the stat. That's pretty impressive. That's where we're at, folks. That's where we're at. Speaking of Eagles chants, I have a feeling that we're going to be, unfortunately, hearing a few of them at Phillies games. Now, yesterday, the Phillies did not play the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yesterday, the Phillies got rained out, and they were going to face Paul Skeens. So, Rob Thompson devised a lineup, and listen to the lineup that was supposed to go out yesterday. Trey Turner leading off. Kyle Schwarber, DH, batting second. Bryce Harper at first, batting third. Alec Boehm batting cleanup at third. Bryce Harper at first. Alec Boehm at third, batting cleanup. Nick Castellanos batting fifth in right field. Trey Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Boehm, Castellanos against Paul Skeens. Could that be what the season's going to have in store for the Philadelphia Phillies this year? Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Boehm. Real Muto was in the lineup. Max Kepler was in the lineup. Oscar Mercado was in center field. Bryson Stott was at second base. Are you for Trey Turner in the leadoff spot and Kyle Schwarber batting second? I love it on paper, but for whatever reason, Kyle Schwarber it's been said many times throughout last year, they just win. Kyle Schwarber leads off. They just win. Maybe this is a way, I don't know, get more guys on base, obviously, try to get Trey Turner on base. But here's my thing. In our experience with Trey Turner to this point, he hasn't exactly been a fantastic on-base guy. He hasn't been a fantastic, see those pitches guy. He hasn't been a leadoff hitter, at least not doing it well for the Phillies, unfortunately, which is why they went back to Kyle Schwarber. Maybe this is the year where that change is needed. I know something's got to change with the Phillies, and it's got to be something other than Max Kepler, for instance. I can't remember a time where I've been this excited about a rotation. When you consider Wheeler, Nola, Andrew Painter, Luzardo, Suarez, and then this lineup. going through a month of looking like everyone's going to be a Hall of Famer, and then they forgot how to hit baseballs. That seems like a problem. That's kind of how I feel about the Phils. So whatever Rob Thompson can do to shake things up, keep it fresh, keep those guys sharp, then hey, I'd say now, no time like the present to start trying some new things with this lineup, especially with how last year ended. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy. Christopher Sanchez. I forgot Christopher Sanchez. Thank you, Hardcore for All. I appreciate that. I knew I was leaving somebody out. Yeah, pretty excited about the rotation. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. Also, use Game Time Picks. Use that feature on the Game Time app, and you can get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. So once again, want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show, Game Time app has you covered. Use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about Sky Motorcars? Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine Tuesday morning already. Wine Niners Wine, good morning. April, good morning, April. Jason A, hello. Dunner, how we doing, gang? Not great, because I watched the Sixers. And then I spent a half hour talking about it after the game. Not great. 3-year-old wearing diapers. Yeah, man. Yep, still not potty trained. Mom and Dad got to do a better job of that. We got to do a better job putting my son's butt in the right position to make dumps. You know what I'm saying? Sean Kilrain, hello. Sean Kilrain, the Packers are the team that's submitted a proposal to the NFL to ban the Eagles' tush push. That is correct. That is interesting, Sean. Yeah, they've tried the tush push as well and failed. You are correct. The Packers are also led by Philly in the playoffs this year. They have beat twice. That can't be fun. Beaten Brazil, beaten Philadelphia. That's a shame. That's a shame. Oh, I didn't see that. I must have checked out during that part. Paul George said we just don't have the habits of a champion or playoff contending team. At least he's honest. He's honest about what got him through his injury woes. Drugs. Said that too. That was fun. And then Nick Nurse being honest and saying Joel Embiid would have gotten in the way of the Sixers attempting to come back against the Nets. That's fun. Chad Crawford, good morning, Farzy. Good morning, Chad. Hardcore for All, I could see the No Fun League saying you cannot rugby scrum push a player possessing the ball forward, but that would be a penalty. No, they won't. And I thought about it, and here's why. When a running back runs through the line of scrimmage and, well, let's just say gets 5 yards upfield, 10 yards upfield, and the defense converges on him, and then offensive linemen come in and push the scrum, nobody says anything about that. That's moving the ball forward. This is nothing that hasn't been done throughout the NFL. When a running back just gets tied up with one blocker, or excuse me, one would-be tackler, and an offensive lineman comes up and pushes him forward, those yards still count. We're just doing it at the line. The Eagles are just doing it at the line of scrimmage. This is nothing new. Hello again, Chad. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Good morning. I thought for sure it was the Cowboys too. Right? I thought it was the Cowboys as well. April, you and I are on the same page. Sean Gillespie, you need a strong quarterback to successfully do the tush push and a good offensive line. What's the problem? Yeah, other teams don't know how to build teams. Other teams don't know how to put it all together. They're dumb. They're not how. Well, I shouldn't say they're dumb because Howie Roseman's a brilliant man, and everyone else is stupid. Anyway, Brian Jones, he wasn't wrong. I don't know. Donovan was very insecure. That's what I agree. So no audio on the Nick Nurse clip. My apologies. Derek, what's going on? Well, Devontae Smith's not reading books on the sidelines during the game. You can't complain. No, you can't explain it away. It's a bad look. Let's be real. See, okay, you and I are on the same page. It looks weird. It became a rallying cry. Fine, whatever. It still looks weird to me, and I don't like it. But this is even before that. This is 2 years ago now, where Devontae Smith apparently was complaining about targets, and A.J. Brown was not. Jason A. Sean, he's half the reason we don't. All right. Farzy, what happens after the season? How do they dump all the contracts? Paul George, Embiid, the Sixers have to eat that money. Hey, look, I didn't think there was a chance that the Sixers would move on from Al Horford's deal. And that's one of the first things Daryl Morey did when he got to Philadelphia. He moved on from Al Horford. So I could see them somehow moving on from Paul George and just starting over. I couldn't see them moving on from Joel Embiid. I couldn't see it. And the other thing is to compare it to Al Horford for a second. Al Horford proved over the years that he still had something left. PG might be cooked. Joel Embiid might not be healthy enough to play the game ever again. Like, think about that. Like, Joel Embiid might be done. And I know this is something people have already thought about, but when you're another team and you're thinking about trading him, this is why I was saying 2 years ago, start entertaining trade offers for Joel Embiid. Rudy Gobert got traded. Anyway, and Joel Embiid did not. How do the Sixers eat the money? I don't know how they eat the money. I don't think they can eat the money. But I'll put it to you like this. Although I think Joel Embiid's done, I don't think the Sixers are willing to acknowledge that just yet with all the money tied up in him. As I've said, they're going to exhaust every resource to see if he can play or not. Sixers are by far the worst franchise in the city. It's not even close. I can't remember a team. I can't remember a time where I ever wanted an ownership group to sell the team and just get away from Philadelphia, like I have with Josh Harris. I've gone through it many times over with you guys, from Andrew Bynum to the whole process, then quitting on the process and being pushed around by the league and bringing in the Colangelos, like everything from gouging would-be season ticket holders after the Sixers were done with the tanking part of the process, to COVID being the first team to cut salaries for employees and then only to go back on that, to the stadium, like everything. That Chinese company they were involved with for a second, that was a total scam. Like, how is this allowed? Like, oh yeah, you guys should own a team that people love and want to go to games and stuff. Like, no, I wish there was a 10-year plan where no, this is a complete failure. You can't have these guys own a team. Anyway, I would love for today it to come out that the Sixers are for sale. Still, obviously, keep them in Philadelphia. That'd be the prerequisite, but unbelievable. And maybe their agreement with Comcast actually helps that, because now they have something more to sell, part ownership of whatever's going to be built down there at the sports complex. So there's that. Brian Pumper, the Embiid deserves all this. Yeah. Will Nick Nurse retain his job? This year is a tough stain on his record. I think everyone's going to look at it and say he didn't have anybody. Last night was the 35th starting lineup that the Sixers have had this year. I don't put a lot of that on Nick Nurse, but here's what I will say. Is it supposed to be even this bad? Like, being down 50 points to the Bulls, allowing 40 points to the Bulls in the first quarter, 39 points to the Nets, trailing the Nets by 14 points in the game? Is it supposed to be this bad? Maybe. Weinar's why I fell asleep during the Sixers talk. Is it still happening? No, it's over. DJ, what's going on? I'd rather Trey lead off and should get Schwarber more RBIs. I'm in the same school as you, Mr. Sandman. Oh, Fred B. Block. What's going on? Thanks for the great presents. I live in Doan, Philippines. Dayuan, Philippines. 9,000 miles away. 9,000 miles away from South Philly. Left Philly in 1964. Philly never left me. Philly never left me. Wherever in the world I live, fly Eagles fly. That's awesome, Fred. I'm glad to be here for you, man. Enjoy the Philippines. Sixers should just tell teams they are tanking so other teams don't play hard and blow us out by 50. Hey, I'm going to take a dive in the first quarter, just right out of the gate. Embiid can sell merchandise outside the stadium. That's great. Ooh, I think they're going edge as well. Wine Niners wine. Call my shot. Eagles draft Michael Williams, Georgia edge rusher, or trade out of the first round. Yeah, they could do both. I wouldn't expect them to pick at 32. I wouldn't expect them to pick at 32. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Hey, a winning organization is playing tonight. That's the Philadelphia Flyers, who have won 2 in a row, scored 9 goals in their last 2 games. They got the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. Flyers enter this game 25, 26, and 7. This game will be in South Philadelphia. Penguins enter at 23, 27, and 9. So let's go Flyers. Your 10-9-8 76ers, yeah, that's them. They'll be back at it tomorrow night. They're now 20 and 37 on the season. They'll take on the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Knicks and Sixers have inversed records. Sixers 20 and 37, Knicks 37 and 20. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? And there's Brown, Tush Push, Embiid. Phillies lineup. Yeah, all that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe to all that stuff. Yeah. Good times. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be back with you guys. I'm still recovering from your Sixers. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.